Welcome to Scrounger Gaming. I'm Scrounger and this is Avorion, and today we're going to be building a destroyer. I believe it's a destroyer. It fits the description of a destroyer, I think. I did look up the definition. If I'm wrong, please do correct me in the comments. Looking forward to hearing about that. So here I'm just blocking out the frame, the rough shape of the ship. And yes, it is a giant rectangle. With engines. Big engines. I used the skull in the beginning, the template I made in the previous video, to check the width of the main body of the ship, and there I've attached the skull to the ship. A little bit of a rounded edge there. Who doesn't like round edges? I'm making these little cutouts here along the front half of the ship, and I will be building some ribs there. They'll be half ellipses. Got a couple edges in there. I just wanted to break up the squareness of the ship. I also used a Lego mini fleet creation of somebody else's as inspiration for this ship. And when I say inspiration, I mean I basically copied it and brought it to Avorion. That ship was not a destroyer though. That ship was a transport dropship. At least that's what his intention was for it. Lots of little tiny pieces in those ribs. I like to have smooth corners. It adds to the block count, but when you're trying to make something that looks good, you kind of have to make some allowances for an amount of blocks. I made this ship out of trinium. I suppose it would be best used in the mid and up to late game. I don't know if I would take this ship to the core as my main ship. In fact, I'll just come out and say it. I would not use this as my final ship. Though I suppose you could rescale it. Maybe bring it up to two times scale. Doubling the size in every dimension. It would become a little sluggish. Most large ships are sluggish, but it would be fast. It wouldn't turn very well in any direction. But it could be used if you scaled it up. I'm just copying it now into the other two slots. Making some corrections on the engines. There were more pieces there than there needed to be. Now I'm adding structural integrity generators. Trying to make sure I have the whole ship covered. Using as few as possible. There's no need to overuse these. You just need to have everything covered. Now I am making a wireframe that will contain the ship internals, the generators, the batteries, thrusters, computer core, all that. Everything that makes a ship a ship. I like to do this because it allows me to change things if I wanted to. For instance, I'm making the wireframe and the boxes out of energy containers, batteries. What I can do later is I can open up the view and I can turn on just batteries, and that will show me all of the containers that have the ship systems in it, or the ship modules. And then I can change the energy containers into another material, which will turn them invisible. And then I can work with what's inside of them. I can change the visibility to those blocks, say the thrusters or energy containers or generators or what have you, whatever I want to change. I can change those into another block, or I could outright delete them. And then I can switch to the block I subbed in for the batteries and place a new block inside of them. And I want to talk about this real quick. I'm trying to use corners, 8 corners per box, and then I go in and I transform the corners into another block, in that case thrusters. So now I have 8 thrusters in a 1 block space. Ooh, that was a game restart. Apparently some blocks didn't delete when I wanted them to. I believe that's the second restart of that kind. I believe there's been some debate as to the application of overlapping blocks. And I'm just going to come out and say I have no problem with it whatsoever. I don't see that it adds any significant advantage to anyone under any circumstances. First off, you have to mine the resources for them still. And the more things you put into a ship, the more resources you're going to need. You're never going to get them for free. The ship size is, in my opinion, irrelevant. And a larger ship is going to perform the same way as this one is. I mean, I just don't... I can't see any kind of possible argument against it that withstands any amount of scrutiny whatsoever. And then you have the fact that the procedural generation of the game uses overlapping blocks all the time. Everywhere. Everything it generates, it uses overlapping blocks. The stations, the ships, the large asteroids. The large asteroids are 100% made of overlapping blocks. There will be no non-overlapping blocks in the large asteroids. I see the only difference between the procedural generation doing it and players doing it is players just do it better. And you're never going to find a video game where a player doesn't do something better than the AI. And I'm using AI here very, very loosely. It's more like programming. It's an algorithm that was programmed to do what it's doing. You know, so the algorithms don't learn, humans do. And so we're always going to have that advantage. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm okay with it. If you're not, hey, let me know in the comments. And while you're there, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon because I'll be making more videos. And here we go. I start in on the ship systems, or the modules. And it's a constant balance too. I make some thrusters to make the ship maneuverable. That requires crew, so I need to add crew blocks. The thrusters require power, so I have to add more energy. I add shields, which needs more energy. I add this, which needs more energy. In the end, these ships end up being, 60 to 80% energy generation. And speaking of more videos, this game gets its official release on March 9th. In the run-up to that, I am going to be making ships, and those ships I will use in a Let's Play series that I'm going to do when this game releases. So on March 9th, I'll be doing Let's Plays using the ships I make here. This particular ship, I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. I kind of wanted to make this ship to show the practical application of the skull template I made. And another restart. I just didn't want to put up the skull template and be like, yay, skull, look everybody, cool, right? That's not who I am. So I wanted to show the actual application of it. And here I'm testing the maneuverability of the ship. I wanted to make sure that it could actually strafe. I added computer cores here to give it one, maybe two extra system slots. And system slots mean more turrets. So yay, more turrets is always good. Can't ever have enough turrets. I put in some torpedo storage. Unfortunately, I made the error and forgot to put any torpedo launchers on this ship. Those are easy enough to add. You can put them pretty much anywhere and any size you want. And you see I used the cylinder I made in my templates video. And I turned that into crew space. I started to run a little short on crew space, actually. And I'll have to add a little more too, just to give some like wiggle room. In the end, you can actually crew this ship with generic crew and have about 100 spaces left over. Which means if you were to use a specialized crew, you could actually crew this ship with a very small crew. Well, relative to the system modules. And then I paint the ship black. Not really big fan of Avorion ships painted black. The game can be kind of dark, but I thought the color fit with the skull theme, with the figurehead. With gray and red accents. More thrusters. Yeah, I started to get a little bit low on maneuverability there. I like 0.3 and higher on all axes. that look of the ship. Yeah, this look right here. Now, if you look closely, the ship kind of looks like a Pez dispenser. I mean, I'm not saying it's a Pez dispenser, but it's a Pez dispenser. I added some cargo space there. A Pez dispenser. I made a ship that looks like a Pez dispenser. I mean, that's what it is. I added some cargo space there. It's been a while since I've played the game for, you know, actual like playing the game's sake. And they've added a new mission where you can free some slaves. And in order to pick them up after you've rescued them, you have to have cargo space. So pretty much every ship has to have an amount of cargo space. That might be hard to see because it was black on black. But what I've done there was I took some edge pieces and I've attached them to the bottoms and tops of blocks. And I've done it in such a way that the blocks overlap each other to make the diagonal paint. It's a little bit wonky though, because if I was to try to delete one of the edge blocks, it would actually take out both blocks, even though they're different colors. And it's something I'm not really good at, is making the backs and bottoms of ships as interesting as the rest of the ship. I try though. And that's the grate I made, the grate template I made in my first template video. And instead of just leaving it as is because the background is red, I end up filling it in with darker colored bars to make it look like a vent. That's just not venting from the hull. And here's the last bit of crew quarters I'm going to add. And on top of that, I add some sort of like a antenna array, which I think adds a little bit of depth to every ship. Taking a look around. I might have gone on a little bit of a break there. I actually did this video in one take, one recording, 9 hours. Yeah, so I apologize for the speed with which the time lapse is done here. It was a 9-hour video that I had to squish down into 30 minutes. I really don't have a choice on that. And I knew going into it that I wanted to do these, what I'm going to call vertebrae. I knew I wanted to do them like from the beginning of the ship. But I didn't know if I wanted to go all the way back with them. I chose not to go all the way back with them because I couldn't figure out a way to make it look good, because I didn't want to do the turret mount wings any more than the front three. And I figured if I wasn't going to be doing them all the way back, I might as well not even do them back at all. And the problem with the adding them further back on the ship is that as I got towards the back of the ship, they would have gotten shorter, which means as turret mounts, it wouldn't have been so great because they wouldn't be able to fire forward anymore. They would be blocked by this third one, which is taller than the two in front of it. So I kind of nixed that idea. But I had to do something with these three. The three ribs there. And that triangle, that doesn't stay there. It doesn't belong there. I was just trying to work out a shape because I'm going to make some slanted turret mounts here on each of the engines. I'm going to make some more turret mounts on the front. And I just discovered that there are a lot of things that I've added to the ship since I added the integrity field generators that aren't covered by the integrity field generators. I'll have to go back and fix that. I add some more antenna arrays here in the front. And these half spheres I'm about to put on here, I got those off of the Steam Workshop. You know, as many ships as I've built, I cannot figure out how they made these. There's got to be some build mode trickery going on there. But I am grateful that they did make them because I do use them. These turret mounts here, I think they looked kind of ridiculous in the work that I used as an inspiration. But when I made them, I came around. I warmed up to them. I kind of like them like this. They stick off of the ship a little bit, and they might look a little bit weird, but they kind of grew on me. I like them. I like them right where they are. I couldn't use my template here because I have a huge portion of it cut out, and I'll be putting things inside of the box that it's attached to. So I had to make these cylinders from scratch. Make sure everything is covered by the integrity field. And it's time to put a cap on them and turn them into actual turret mounts. Funny thing here, one of these squares does not go together. That one right there, it didn't merge correctly. I don't know what happened there. All of the others merged just fine. And we have another restart. And the reason why I restart the game like that so frequently is because I'll place a block down, right? I'm working on something. And when I go to delete the block doesn't actually disappear. It just stays there, and I can't see anything through it. And that's where I'm building. So in order to clear it, I have to restart the game, because when I come back in, it's fine again. And I'm not really understanding what's going on there. It used to be when I would delete a block, it would leave a red outline, and at the bottom of the screen, above the toolbar there, it would say something about working on geometry. And then when it was done, the red translucent blocks would go away and the area would be free again. But that's not happening anymore. Sometimes I can clear the what I'm going to call ghost blocks by building something near them. But most of the time, that's not the case. So it requires a game restart. So even though I recorded in one 9-hour session, I had to restart this game several times throughout the making of this ship. On these engines here, I made a headache for myself making these engine covers. What I should have done is I should have built them separate from the ship. And then when I was done with the one, just pasted it into the 4 positions. Another restart. Yeah, I actually made a headache for myself doing this. One of these engines wasn't mirroring correctly. I would delete blocks, but they wouldn't be deleted on one of the engines. Even though I've got a 2-way axis mirror going on here. So I do one thing, I make one engine and it makes all 4 of them. The other 3. I'll be able to show you better what I mean. Okay, so I place these edge pieces, right? But it leaves these little nubs on the inside. And I go to delete them, right? And this should delete them all, but it doesn't. See, I've got to delete them on this engine too. So every time from here on out, whenever I do something, I have to give this lower right engine a quick look to make sure that everything I did elsewhere happened there. It was annoying, but it worked out. Not sure how that happened though. And I'm building these engines backwards. There we go. They were flaring out at the tops and bottoms, and I wanted to actually flare out in the middle. And I still haven't closed those engine covers. You're going to have to bear with me on that one because I don't close those engines for, I think, until the very end. I am adding some more turret mounts here towards the rear. And these are more in my intention here is to give more space for defense turrets. I like to have anywhere between 4 and 6 defense turrets on my ships, giving me as much coverage from every angle possible. And real quick before we get into the end of the video, I just want to say, oh here, I do the numbers for the doors using my letters and numbers template from my first video. If you like this video, if you like building ships, if you like Avorion, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon, leave some comments. Even if you don't like the video, do those things anyway. I want to hear from everybody. And then I go and take some screenshots. Oh, I realized that I've left the cover off the engines. Take some screenshots real quick, because I'm going to post it to Steam. And then we take a good look at the rest of the ship. Ain't she a beaut? This has been Scrounger. This has been Avorion. This is my destroyer. You're awesome, and thank you for watching.